I feel like every other week, WCW had a show in North Carolina in the mid-90s. Ric Flair and sometimes the fellow Horsemen would come out to a standing ovation. This was their country anyway. It was either inserted to tie into some sort of storyline or a promotional effort. We are several years into the life of AEW, including a tumultuous time with the pandemic securing no touring dates. You make do with what you have, and then you gain from that. Last month, the Tony Khan production came into Rochester for Dynamite on July 6. We now have to come to terms with the fact that Rochester, New York is known as Brodie Lee country. This needs to stop. We remember Luke Harper for being a menace with the Wyatt family, a skilled worker who looked fantastic alongside Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan. In early stages of NXT wrestler that would progress to the main roster, his matches against the Shield are modern classic amongst cultures. Several years later, after a variety of recreations that somehow made it past the cutting room floor, we see the Bludgeon Bro released, and months later entering the AEW fold as the Exalted One for the Dark Order. A faction that had no guidance, but would gain relevance with Brodie Lee as their centerpiece. Watching him against Marco Stunt and other dwarfs set the bar low, no pun intended. A squash against Cody Rhodes inserted him into the main event scene when the TNT title meant something, until an unprompted dog collar match would be the unfortunate end of not only Brodie Lee's career, but also his life. A terribly tragic part of the past 5 years in wrestling and what they could have done. The aftermath of this is now where this just becomes desperate. What's the theme we say here at WRESTLEBUDDY? Great TV will create great wrestling. We understand that dedication ceremonies absolutely have their place in wrestling. We just had a cash grab tournament of Owen Hart in both the men's and women's division, which saw super unpower couple Britt Baker and her lazy boy husband Adam Cole winning. This has done no favors for them, but it was a clapback nudge to the WWE with how they've deleted the Owen Hart existence from their company. Poor execution for AEW, but it was a smart move and well played by them. The topic here, though, is the exposure of Brodie Lee's family, with Tony giving his son a contract when he is 18 to wrestle for them, featuring him on TV and YouTube, and even giving Brodie's wife Amanda a job in the office. This is what WWE did with Dana Warrior for no reason whatsoever, aside from trying to make people forget about the awful things the Ultimate Warrior has done for wrestling. Amanda Huber then makes fun of people that pay homage to her husband, but misspell his name in tweets. How gracious. Again, I have no problem with extending help to a family in need. He left this earth with a wife and 2 children. The exploitation here is the issue. Going back to the Rochester, we have a mix of the Dark Order with -1 coming out to be tough to QT Marshall. QT was chasing around -1 on Dark with his pants down to his ankles. Disgusting. On this episode of Dark, it was paying homage to the hometown of Brodie Lee with having Adam Page come out to the defense of the Dark Order, which is a terrible idea that buries everyone involved. This isn't doing anyone favors having the child out there again and again, but what's even more redeeming is the making money off the child too. That's right, an action figure with Brodie and his son has been issued out as being sold to collectors. There's a market for these type of figures, but when this is seen by non-collectors, this is heavily questioned. I really think that this will be the theme anytime AEW visits the Rochester area. Brodie Lee and the team he commanded for 6 months will be the forefront of attention for a TV spot. It would actually make more sense if they substituted the title of the Owen Hart tournament for the Exalted tournament. But this was the business approach for Tony Khan. He knows damn well Owen was more important than Brodie Lee. It isn't a secret, but it isn't an insult either. The amount of merchandise created has been endless. The mileage off of Brodie Lee's career in AEW is unpalatable. I understand that this is where the indies come to hang out and rejoice. What has become a tribute has become a mass acquisitive transaction. I am honestly surprised how Brodie isn't on the opening to any of the programs either. Okay, this is going to sound really bad, but it's time to move on. All we hear about is Brodie Lee and the biggest job team that is still lingering around, echoing the sentiment of how he made them. Made is an overstatement, since they are pretty unenjoyable to watch, and they have bad matches and bad comedy each time we see them. Brodie Lee has totally been honored as the god of AEW. Not putting his name down, but has been so long since we actually watched a match of his. I have lost loved ones in the past and always remember the good times, but I don't want to be constantly reminded of them on TV in such a negative portrayal. Where's the end of the line with bringing him up as a cash grab? Honoring is one thing, but the terrible dedications are another. Invest this time into actual good TV programming, Tony.